Good afternoon and welcome to the Brad Beldon Show, your go-to podcast for all things roofing, the latest buzz in San Antonio, local politics, and just about anything else under the sun. I'm excited today to have Bart Vasquez, the executive director with the 100 Club of San Antonio, and mayoral candidate Adriana Rocha Garcia. Welcome to the Brad Beldon Show.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Bart, with your extensive background over 7 years in the U.S. Army Police and over almost 21 years with the San Antonio Police Department, you're deeply familiar with the needs of those who protect us. Could you tell us a story of why, or enlighten us as to why the 100 Club is so important to you?
Yes. The 100 Club, we're a nonprofit, been around for over 50 years, and our primary mission at the 100 Club is if we lose a first responder in the line of duty, we will provide immediate financial assistance to the family so that way they can do things that need to be done right away without having to wait on insurances or anything else to come through. So we do that. Any kids that they have when they turn college age, we'll provide them $50,000 that summer before they start college for that scholarship. So that's a big thing for them. And we pay it directly to the child over monthly annuities so that they can use it on tuition. They can use it on any type of bills they may have while they're going to college. But then we have several other programs within the 100 Club, our line of duty injury, our training, our K-9 fund, and our bridge program also.
So how many kids do you have? I didn't even know about it till you told me earlier today. How many kids are on the scholarship?
This year, we'll be giving the scholarship to 3 kids this year. So that's $50,000 each kid. And we'll provide it 3 kids. 2 of them are Bobby Deckard's kid, SAPD officer that was shot and killed in line of duty, and then Joseph Cisneros, who's also an SAPD officer that died during COVID.
So is it only the city or is it also county police?
Yeah,
Sheriff?
any law enforcement agency in Bexar County is who we represent and help, and hopefully coming soon, some of the southern counties as well that touch Bexar County.
So last week, unfortunately, we saw 7 police officers shot in the line of duty in the Stone Oak area. Fortunately, they'll all recover. But it reminded me, when I was in college, my mother had suggested, this is back in the 80s, I went to UT, and my mother had suggested that on Christmas that I ride with the police officers, because they were always in tandem, right? And so a lot of the students would ride with the police officers so they had somebody with them and more police officers could take the time off. But what they didn't let us do is if it was a domestic dispute or they felt there was a sense of danger, we were not allowed to leave the car. And, this is back in 82 that I started doing that. I did 82 to 86. And I thought about the officers because I got the alert on my phone, right? At first, the alert, officers down or officer, I don't remember the exact alert that came over that we all get on our phone. How did y'all have to step in? Normally I would assume it would be 1 officer, but 7 simultaneously, and you don't have a huge staff. How did y'all manage that?
Yeah, luckily, me retiring from the police department, I'm still in contact with Chief McManus there at the police department. And most of the other staff at the police department, I still know them and I'm still in contact with them. So immediately that night, I started getting text messages about the incident and about the number of officers that were injured. And like you said, it just kept going up and up and up. And we're like, hopefully this is going to stop soon. That's a lot of officers. But what we do is we provide financial assistance. When I was a young patrolman, I worked every side job, extra job, everything I could, because we want to provide a better life for our family. And the police department, isn't the best pay job that you can have in the city.
Yeah.
And so we work every side job, every overtime that we can to provide a better life for our families. And when you're injured in line of duty, that's gone. You get your base pay, but all the overtime, all the side jobs you work, you cannot do those until you're recovered and back to full duty. So we'll go in and we'll provide financial assistance to them for 3 months or even longer if they're out of work longer, but up to 3 months is our initial kind of assistance with them. And all totaled over those 3 months, it's somewhere in the area of $5,000 to $10,000, just depending on their need, how much overtime they work, how many side jobs they have. We also offer counseling, and so we don't do the counseling at the 100 Club. Don't worry, it's not me trying to do counseling. We contract with 5 local counseling companies here in San Antonio that if the first responder or their immediate family go to those counseling companies, they will invoice us directly and we'll get it paid. So there's until they meet their deductible or their copay, that's out of pocket for the first responder. So we want to take care of that so that way they can get back to work because it's got to be tough on the spouse.
Wait, even if that occurs in the line of duty, they still have to cover their deductible?
Yes.
Oh,
they,
wow.
they sure do.
Did not know that.
Yes.
So then that money really is helpful.
Yes, it really does help. I mean, can you imagine being a spouse and you know your loved one works the Stone Oak area, and here you hear about 7 officers being shot there, and you're not hearing from them because they're busy trying to do what's going on there at the scene. So you're not hearing from them. You don't know if it's
I'm
your family
sure
member.
they got the same text that we got, right?
Right. Yes. And so you just don't know what's going on, and so that takes a toll on that spouse or those family members. And so we know that there's going to be counseling needs there to try to get them through that because I don't think the most time on that one of them had was 8 years. So they got a long way to go before they're ready for retire.
Wow.
So most of them were younger than that, 4 years, 3 years or so. So they got a long way to go. So we want to make sure those needs are met so they don't have to worry about that. And then the most important thing that we do is we let them know that everything that we're providing is from a grateful community, that the citizens of San Antonio are the ones that are providing this to us to give back to them. And I know the councilwoman went with me to visit one of the officers, and that there shows that support that our leaders of San Antonio are there behind them 100%. And so I really appreciate her going with me on Friday to visit one of the officers.
So Adriana, you reached out to me about talking about this, and why is the 100 Club so important to you?
Let me tell you, Brad, first, thank you so much for allowing us to do this. And I knew that you have a great audience, and the 100 Club, we need to get out there. We need to encourage the community to keep supporting our first responders. They're the ones that protect us. They don't ask any questions when that call comes. They just go out there. And so it's critical for me to always be supportive of first responders, but in particular, the organization that we're highlighting today is one that thinks beyond the now. And so, right away, when we got that message, like you said, we think about our prayers going to the family, and we reach out to fellow officers and make sure that they're okay, or saying we're thinking of them because their sisters, their brothers could be hurt, etc. But it really is the opportunity for the city of San Antonio and the community to show them, hey, we back the blue. We are grateful for your service. We know that you put yourself out there, that you are in danger every single day. And by the way, thank you to the families. And so Bart was talking about earlier how some of the families might not necessarily know that it might be their loved one that is in danger. And when we think about our own families, imagine being out there and thinking, gosh, what if that's my husband? The family that we visited happened to be a couple who are both police officers. And so, gosh, for me
They
too.
were both injured?
No, they were not
Oh,
both
okay.
injured. No.
Okay.
No, but they're both police officers.
Wow.
So we are grateful as a community that they're out there putting their life on the line. They have a young child, and that young child, we need to take care of her if something happens to her parents. Just like any other child of any first responder, they put their life on the line to protect us. And it's the thing that we can do is support the 100 Club. I know you all have probably supported and maybe the spaghetti dinner. And we think about the spaghetti dinner. Spaghetti dinner is delicious.
But that's all anybody ever hears about is a spaghetti dinner.
Unfortunately, that's
Yeah.
what I was afraid of. So thank you for the opportunity to allow us to talk a little bit more about what they do beyond the spaghetti dinner.
So I feel that there's a big disconnect in the community, and I'm just as guilty as anybody else. I send the money in, I get the stickers, we put them on our car. But I did not understand the connection until you reached out and talked about, hey, those 7 police officers needed money. And I never put 2 and 2 together. And I'm confident that others in our community have the same disconnect. And I'm hopeful that we can find a way to make that connection today. And they have an opportunity Friday night to give back to the Blue and to fill the Rocket La Cantera at a casino night. Bart, can you talk about that?
Yeah, it's our 10th annual Boots and Badges night. It's a fun night, but it's for a great cause. And so this year we're going to have it at the Roca La Cantera. It'll start at doors open at 6:30. We'll start the program at 7. But it's a very short kind of program, and then we get down to the music playing and the fake gambling. We don't have real gambling, so nobody call the police on us. It's just fake gambling.
Well, they will be there.
Yeah, they'll already be there.
They're not gonna have to go very far, right?
But it's just a real fun night. But it's for a great cause. We have a live auction and a silent auction that happens as well, and all the money that we raise there truly helps us accomplish our mission throughout the year of being able to provide these 7 with that support, being able to provide these scholarships to the dependent children of the first responders that have died in line of duty. Being able to do these things is how we do it with these events that we hold.
And so if somebody wanted to sponsor or buy tickets, where would they go?
They can go to 100clubsa.org and they'll see the events tab on there and they can sponsor that way. They can buy individual ticket. They can, sponsor a table or buy a table. And I want to tell you, thank you for your kind contribution and sponsoring a family table for us at the event. I saw it this morning when I woke up. So thank you very much for that. The families, we always get families that want to come, and the families of the fallen first responders. We've had 85 since we started in 1973. So we have quite a few family members that still contact us, and being able to provide them a free event is always good for them.
85 have fallen since 1973?
Yes.
Wow. That's a lot.
It sure is.
It doesn't. Sure is. Wow. That's shocking. I did not know that.
Yes.
I'm almost speechless. So the Battle of Flowers, did we lose police officers with Ira Atterbury?
Unfortunately, that was a little before my time.
Yeah. That's almost 2 per year, 1.5 per year.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I know in my line of business, what we do is not as dangerous, and yet it's dangerous in its own way because we're going up on top of roofs. They can be 50 feet, 100 feet, 200 feet in the air. And one of the things that we promote every single day is a 2-way ticket. You come to work and then we get you home in the same condition you were in. And I would think that spouse or significant other, a little bit different for them because I control the safety. I control the equipment that we give our crews. I control the tie-off mechanisms. I control everything that I can control, right? But for you can't control everybody else outside of that police officer. So as difficult as it sounds without going into a specific name of a person, can you elaborate as to what you go through when you have to approach a family member? Are you the first in? Is the chaplain go in? How does that work? I mean, at what point do you step in and say, hey, we're here to help?
Yeah, we work with the family assistance officer from the department. And so we'll reach out to them. We'll contact that FAO and we'll ask them, when can we come in and speak with the family? A lot of times it is at the hospital or right after the incident or hours after the incident.
They bring you in right away?
Yes, they will. And so we sit down and it's tough. It really is tough. And, like the injured officers, the number one thing on every one of their minds was financial because they work extra. They do all these things.
I mean, even if they're sitting there bleeding and
yes,
all stitched up, they're worried about, I never thought about the overtime pay. And I mean, because when we do work downtown, we hire off-duty police to block the streets, right? And I didn't connect the dots. They can't do that if they're injured.
Right. And there's no funding coming from anywhere. That's just lost. And so the relief of them and the family when we come in and say, we're going to assist you, and this is from the community. The last couple officers I saw, one of them said to me, I'm not a member of the 100 Club. And I told him, you're a first responder. You are a member of the 100 Club.
Everybody's a member, right?
Yes. It's for the community to be members of us, to donate to us to be a member. But as far as a first responder, you're in. You're already there. You don't have to do anything. Just go and do your job, and you're in with us.
Wow. I mean, I'm almost speechless again. It's just, you don't think of these things. Um, so Bart, with that mindset, what are some of the biggest challenges that you have to overcome with the 100 Club?
And I think some of the things that people don't understand is like we're talking about the 85 that have fallen. Well, in the next 10 years, we have to provide 18 kids with those scholarships. And so 18 times $50,000, you can see it's a, quite
$900,000.
yeah, it's a lot of money that we have to be able to provide, and we don't give it to them from us in payments. We transfer the full 50 into annuity, and then annuity pays the kid monthly. So from our organization, we have to be prepared to do that. And like this year is three kids, this year, and so that's one of the big challenges of knowing that we got to have that funding. We got to be ready to provide for those kids when they start college. And so those are some of the big achievements that we gotta make sure we meet.
Even if they're 2 years old today.
Yes. Yeah, even if they're 2 year olds today, when, 16 years from now, we gotta be ready, and that funding has to be available for them. And then, it's always the discussion in 16 years, how much is college gonna cost? What would $50,000 really do in the grand scheme of college? And so every year we look at it as a board to say, should we raise the limit and go up to be able to provide more for those kids? Just to be realistic with the times.
Do you put that 50,000 in a fund at that time at 2 years old, or you wait?
I wish we had the funding to do that, but unfortunately, we have to wait and really fundraise the couple years leading up to that and
Wow.
have them on our radar.
So y'all been doing this a long time. Can you give me a success story of some of the kids that have benefited from that tuition and what they're doing?
Yeah, one of the ones that I got contacted when I first started, I got a phone call from one of the owners of Perry's Pizzas. There's like 4 locations here in San Antonio now, but his name is Harry Brackman, and he gave me a call and said, "I'm one of the owners of Perry's Pizzas. My dad was killed in the line of duty in 1974 for the San Antonio Police Department, Harry Brackman Sr." And he said, "I want to do something to honor the 100 Club because they helped me out." And I still remember that when I started college, they came and gave me funding for college, and it put him through college at the University of Texas. And then he went on to become a very successful businessman. But he says, I still remember the 100 Club reaching out to my mom every year and seeing how she was doing, seeing how we were doing, really showing care for us and being there for us. And he says, I want to do something to honor my dad. He says, I love to play golf. Can we do a 100 Club Perry's Pizza golf tournament? And I said, we haven't done a golf tournament, but how do I tell you no? You're a Survivor kid. How do I tell you no? And so we did it, and it was a successful golf tournament. But just to think about I think he was 2 or so when his dad passed away in the line of duty, and what his future could look like without that.
Completely different,
Yes.
right?
But with the college funding and the 100 Club being there, really guided him a certain way, and now he's doing very well, and part owner and willing to give back to the 100 Club for what it helped him through.
Well, and think about all the people that he employs
Yes.
and what they're giving back to the community, and them going to HEB and them going out to other restaurants, and that's a really cool story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was, and
In 1974, I mean, that's a long time ago.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's still involved. And
Yes.
he was how old, 2?
Yeah, he was 2 or 3, somewhere
Wow.
very young.
Wow. That's really cool. I'd like to meet him. Adriana, you're actively involved in the 100 Club. What are your goals, you think, for the future on how do we successfully drive more fundraising efforts to help the 100 Club?
So, Brad, a couple of things. First, I believe that the mental health wellness for our police officers and first responders in general to recover from traumatic events such as the one that happened last week are critical. So, continuing to help the 100 Club and invest in wellness services that include mental health relief, if you will, for not only the first responder, but the family as well. Because this could extend also to the mother, to the father. And so, one of the things that I learned just in talking to Bart is that they're there for the entire family. It doesn't just have to be the spouse, it doesn't have to be just the child. And they get to check or they get to pick who they want to go to for services. So the 100 Club doesn't say you have to go to X, Y, and Z. So with that in mind, we've been talking for probably since Bart started as executive director about the need to invest in an actual facility for our first responders, a facility where they could come in, they can get counseling services, they could get their physical therapy as well. So, anybody out there that wants to donate a space so that they don't have to lease it, and more importantly, some of that physical therapy equipment that they're going to need to get back out there and do their jobs, that's the big step that I think that the 100 Club will be focusing on next. This is from an outsider looking in. Of course, I'm trying to be supportive as possible from the city angle, but those are some of the challenges that I feel that will be coming with the 100 Club because we see that safety continues to be a priority for the residents of San Antonio, and we should be investing more in our first responders. They have events throughout the year. I feel like some people might just think again of that spaghetti dinner, but there's also a run. There's also this casino night with fake funding, etc. But still, the opportunity to be a participant in the SA 100 Club is just by becoming a member. Those stickers, I love when I see people with their stickers on the back of their vehicles. That helps our officers, it helps our families, and it reminds them that we have a community that backs the bloom.
So maybe what we need to do is to find a grant writer that could contribute and help see if we could raise money through grants or something to fund something like that.
Yeah, I don't know if Bart has time to write grants. He's so busy out there.
We could find a volunteer. Maybe
Yeah.
somebody that sees this show could volunteer and
Yeah.
to do grants because if you think about it, I do feel, right or wrong, as great as San Antonio is, and it's no different than the other communities, safety is paramount, and it's becoming more concerning almost daily. Whether you see the homeless population contributing to that or not, it's the economy contributing. Whatever it is, it's not improving across the country, and I think that finding ways to help the first responders is so important to everybody in our community. Like I said, I'm just as guilty as anybody else because I saw a disconnect until you reached out to me and said, "Hey, Brad, can you help?" And it reminds me back in 1980, I lost my best friend to cancer, and we put on a show, The Elephant Man, a fundraiser at Central Park Mall, which is now, I'm not even sure what they call it now, North Park, I guess. And there was a theater in the very back corner, and we couldn't sell tickets. And the reason we couldn't sell tickets, nobody knew about it. Roddy Stinson wrote an article in the Express News. Roddy and I became lifelong friends and I was only in high school. We became lifelong friends. He started volunteering for cancer patients, and he did that for 20-something, 30 years before he passed away. But really, just the fact that he got the message out there, it wasn't that people weren't willing to give, it's just they didn't know. And I'm hoping that today that what we can do is get that message out there to other people so that they can contribute. It doesn't matter what the dollar amount is, right? If everybody contributed $25 or $50, whatever the number is, it grows.
And Brad, one of the things that I also feel like I have to say, I sit on the San Antonio Police and Fire Pensioners Association board, and we see the number of first responders that are retiring. And we need to keep up with the recruitment of first responders. And what better way than to show the love that the community has for them to be able to help with that recruitment? And so any little bit helps, like you mentioned earlier. So whether you send in a donation by check of whatever amount you can, or you come and support the event, you buy a table. There's still 10 tables available for this week's event, by the way. But every little bit helps, and it helps us in our messaging that San Antonio cares for its first responders.
It's does the boot drive, do those things, are they successful, on the street corner? I haven't seen those in a long time. Do those help
I think the firefighters raise money for the
for their
MS.
fund?
for
Yeah.
MS.
Yeah.
And so they do that annual fundraiser where they stand out there with their boots and fill it. And I think they are pretty
Pretty
successful.
successful.
And I believe that is very specific to that cause. But I've got to tell you that there's just this spirit within the first responders community that they're just going to go out there and they're going to help every cause that they can. Sometimes they forget that they also need some help.
Yeah.
And so, again, I just believe in the work that the SA 100 Club does. And in general, 100 clubs across the country do a great service to our nation. But in particular, this is home. And so we need to take care of our own. We never know when that first responder that is responding to us, to our need, that particular day is going to need that help. And that's how we could pay it forward.
So, Bart, you mentioned the Canine Fund. So, my wife, Susan, has been appointed to the ACS Animal Control Board for, I think, 7 years. She was just appointed to the county, the new one the county is forming as the chair. So, animals our family is big on supporting animals, almost to the detriment of we have too many. We saw one yesterday on Facebook, and it was in South Carolina. I said, Susan, are you interested in adopting this one? She wants to save the world one pet at a time. So, I mean, when I heard about the Canine Fund, that really perked me up. Can you talk about that fund and what it's for?
Yeah, so our Canine Fund, if there's a working dog for any first responder agency or Bexar County, and most of them are police working dogs, if they are injured or unfortunately some of them are killed protecting the first responders, then we'll come in, and if the agency doesn't have it in their budget, because these dogs they're not cheap to get a fully trained canine delivered to the department, we'll go in and assist them with that, so that way we can provide that financial assistance to get that dog and replace it as soon as possible, because the agency's mission really goes down, their effectiveness really goes down without the dogs, whether it be our narcotics dog, a patrol dog, or search dog, whatever it is, it really goes down when they lose one. So we'll come in and provide that for them.
Do you help rehome that dog if they've been injured and can't do what they used to do?
We usually leave that to the agency. We
Okay.
don't get involved. However, the agency usually does it. We just work on getting them the new dog. But then also we have provided medical equipment for the canine handlers to have for the dogs in case they are injured. The canine handler will have the equipment to help that dog out with them. So we've helped with equipment for the canines as well.
I was an honorary commander at Lackland, so I spent some time out there at the training facility. And to see those dogs and the amount of training that goes into it, and to understand how important that dog is to the safety of our police officers, that mechanism of being able to train that dog to protect them, it's pretty crazy how well they're trained.
Yes. I can't even get my dog to sit half the time. So, what they're able to do with these dogs and how they train them, it's amazing. But, just the protection it provides to the first responders when you have somebody that's hiding and you have no idea where they're at and they're ready to ambush you, you can set the dog free and it's able to locate them and really help that first responder through that incident. I know in my years there, we used K9 numerous times and almost every time they found the person. And, besides a couple bite marks, they were safely taken into custody.
But it does save lives.
It does.
Before your time, well, maybe you were already a police officer. Do you remember the ambush in Atascosa?
Yes, I do.
And I bet a dog probably back then might have been a different story. I don't know. I don't know the details, but the more when I went out to Lackland and saw that training, I just was fascinated by how incredibly smart those dogs are.
No, you're right. And just their sense of smell. And I mean, we've had people hiding in trash cans and under cars, and we don't see them, but the dog does.
Right.
And so the dog lets you know they're there. And
Oh, our dogs let everybody know that somebody's there. We have a bunch of German Shepherds, and it's crazy though when you think about dogs, their intuitive nature. If we move, they're always moving between us and the front door, right? We don't ask them to move, but they know to protect. And I think that's what's so cool about it, Lackland, how they can take that natural instinct and improve on it.
Yeah.
and because they're going in blind, and that dog really is their eyes. It's they can't all have robots, and they can't all have what are those fancy goggles and AI and all that. So Bart, I went to Lee High School down the street. I also went to public school, Robert E. Lee back then. I don't know what they call it now. You went to Memorial. Tell me something funny that happened, at Memorial High School that you still laugh about today.
Well, I think Memorial is a small high school.
Oh, come on. Lee's not very big either. There was only 600 in my class. How big was your class?
60 of us graduated.
60.
Oh.
Yes.
60.
Yeah. 60
You're
graduated.
telling me that Lee High School had 10 times the number of students?
Yeah. 1994, only 60 of us graduated from that year, that senior high school year. But I remember that I played sports during high school, and out back we had a track. Well, at Memorial, it takes 6 times around the track to do 1 mile. So when I joined the Army and I leave, they're doing a pre-qualification 1 mile run, and I'm running, and I finish my 4th lap, and I keep running. And they're like, "Hey, where are you going? You're done. You already finished your mile." I said, "No, it's 6 laps for a mile." And they said, "No, it's only 4 laps for a mile. Where'd you grow up at?" I'm like, "Well,
at Edgewood, it was 6. The
my high
football
school
field was shorter, right?
Yes. That area was, it took 6 laps to make a mile there. So yeah, I felt really slow. But then when they told me, no, it's only 4 laps, I was like, oh, well, okay, that makes sense now.
Yeah, my kids went to Churchill, and they never understood why I wouldn't buy anything with Churchill on it. They never understood the rivalry between Churchill and Lee. So Adriana, anything else, or Bart, anything else you'd like for our listeners to know about the 100 Club and ways that they could help before we end today?
Just a reminder to support the events, be on the lookout. Thank anybody who you see that has a sticker. Again, you never know when your family is going to need a first responder. First responders are there for you on the worst day of your life. So let's think about how we can be there for them in the worst day for theirs.
Yeah, and I would just say, we look at the true bravery that they show, whether it be Fiesta, when there were shots fired in the crowd at Fiesta, you saw all the first responders go running to that gunfire. They didn't know what's around that corner. They didn't know where they were coming from. They went running that way. You've seen the videos of firefighters running into houses to save not only people, but pets. Fire is something that I definitely don't play around with, but you see these firefighters, they're willing to run in there. They're willing to put their lives at risk. And then you saw the other night, these 7 officers knew that there was an armed subject, knew that this was going on, and were still willing to go up there and confront him for the safety of the public. And so all this that they go through, we got to be there to help provide support to them when they're injured in line of duty. And unfortunately, some of them are going to, pass away in the line of duty, and we got to be there to support their families.
Well, and even the fact that they knew that they had a fallen officer with them, and they still kept fighting, right? Knowing that 1 went down and 2 went down. They all knew that. They were cognizant of that. I think it's just so hard and so remarkable. And I would encourage people, even if you see a first responder in a restaurant, buy their meal, right? It's not hard. And it's just another way to say thank you. They don't have to know it was you. You can go up, you can pay at the cashier or something, but they're not compensated very well. And yet every single day they leave their house and they don't know if they're coming home. And yes, the 100 Club will help their family, but it doesn't bring them back. And that's one of the things that we need to understand, and we need to help give back to our community by contributing to the 100 Club. So Adriana and Bart, I can't thank you enough for coming here and telling us so much about it. I hope that people will support the event this weekend. And what's the URL again?
100clubsa.org.
Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in today. And as my good friend Judd Ashmore used to say, hug somebody. It'll make you feel better.